Hey, YouTube. Let's do this.
Well, I started this story in the middle of the page. I remembered the lines and forgot my age. When somebody said my attitude was snotty, that's when you call and say get out tonight. I'll catch a late night movie on a late night flight. I'll be getting real drunk and making fun of everybody. Ain't nobody gonna get me down. Something must have gone around. Hey, you can stick that sign up your ass. The one that says it won't last. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. Your sarcasm cuts like a knife. I'll have the time of my life. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. To a party last Saturday night. You know, I think I got laid, then I got in a fight. I don't remember that much, but I think I liked it. I saw some band called Roses and Sake, and they brought back the rock and the singer was cocky. 2 years later, I'm sure they'll forget about it. Ain't nobody gonna get me down. Something must have gone around. Yeah, you can stick that sign up your ass. The one that says it won't last. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day. Your sarcasm cuts like a knife. I'll have the time of my life. My sugar buzz is growing higher and higher every day.
And hey, everybody, welcome to Sasquatch Talk. I'm Pat. How's everybody doing tonight? Join me tonight for the 2022 year in review. Yes, we're going to do some of that and maybe what's coming in 2023. And then quickly move on to, are Patty's breasts real or not? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Flying by the seat of our pants tonight. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Brian King Sharp, your fearless leader of Sasquatch Odyssey. What's up, bud?
What's up, Pat? What's going on, folks?
Thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you invited me.
It's going to be an exciting show.
I hope so.
Yes. We're going to get, it's like, it's a New Year's Eve vibe. So we're going to get blitzed. We're going to have a party. It's just going to be great.
We're going to party like it's 1999.
Yes, indeed. So what's up, man? like I said, glad you're here. We may or may not get some people, like some extra people in here as we go along. We'll see.
Yeah, I was just texting back and forth with Denny and Tyler from the Kentucky XFiles. They call themselves my Robins. They call me the Batman of podcasting, and they're my Robins. So the Robins seem to be out and about tonight. So I think Denny might try to jump on when he gets back out. He's having dinner with his wife. So we'll see.
Friday night.
Yeah. Normal people, unlike us, go out and have dinner, and we just sit in our pajamas and podcast. So, it is what it is. Or at least I'm in my pajamas. I don't know about you.
Nope. Actually not tonight, but hey, you never know. Yeah, man, that's cool. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we'll go with the flow here, man. And I like those guys, by the way. They were on your show the other night, correct?
Yeah, it's so funny. They actually reached out to me months ago and asked about if they could advertise on my show because they're trying to grow their audience on their podcast. And they do a weekly show. I think they're putting out a couple of shows a week, a couple of episodes a week. And, they were really big fans of the show, and they wanted to know if they could pay me to advertise on my show. And I'm like, no, but you can come on the show and talk about your show. And so I did. I brought them on the first time, and everybody fell in love with them. They're really super good guys. They're really smart. They have a different take on a lot of things. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say. They don't necessarily agree with everything I have to say. And I like that. I like to be around people who I don't agree with all the time. I think that's how you grow, is disagreements with people and different perspectives. And, Josh, Tyler, and Denny all come from a different place. Josh, he's got a lot going on at work, so he's kind of been absent. He was trying to get on the show with me the other night, and he just couldn't make it. But he's very skeptical. He's probably the most skeptical out of the three of those guys. And I love that perspective. He brings that to the table. He'll challenge you on things. And I love that. Denny, he did it on the show Wednesday night. We were beating the Todd Standing drum and talking about the videos, of course.
Boy, were you ever. I was very impressed with that, by the way.
And so Denny chimes in and he's like, it doesn't really matter. It's just a safe argument. We're talking about nothing's going to be proven by videos. And you know what? He's absolutely right. I mean, 1967, we're talking about the PG film today, right? We're still talking about it today. That was one of the first things you said, was talking about Patty's breast. Are they real? Is it real? And it's the same thing with Todd Standing stuff. So Denny was right. But yeah, they do a really good show over there, the Kentucky XFiles. They're everywhere you get your podcast. They have a YouTube channel, so you guys check them out. They do Bigfoot stuff, but they do everything. They talk about UFOs. They talk about ghosts. They talk about weird rakes and all kinds of cryptids. So really cool stuff.
Fair enough. I liked them. Just that initial, what I got to see of them on your show, I'm like, I like these guys. This could mesh, so they're welcome on my show anytime.
Awesome. I'll let them know that. They definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So I don't know, man. I guess let's kind of address, let's at least, fulfill the title of the show to some degree. And let's talk about this past year in Bigfoot. And of course we'll transition into, thoughts about 2023. I don't know who wants to go first. Do I go first? You go first? Who goes first? I don't know. Maybe
it's your ship. You go right ahead, sir. You're the captain.
Well, because I'm again a little jaded about it, I'll go first and see if we can compliment here. Not much happened this year. Nothing significant happened. I do have one shining thing like that. I thought about it today, Brian, and I was like, what happened this year that really moved me? It was one thing only, and I'll get to that. First, let me get through all the jaded stuff. Nothing happened. I kind of have this weird analogy, optical vision of where we're at. And to me, the Patterson-Gimlin film, imagine a football field, if you will, right? The Patterson-Gimlin film put the ball in the 5-yard line, and it hasn't moved since then. So nothing this year moved the ball down the field at all. So that's the analogy I like to use. I think it's a decent one, because you can almost visualize it, a football field. Most people can. And so, 1967, we got put on the 5-yard line. Haven't moved the ball down the field at all since then, as far as discovery, evidence, knowledge, none of that. And this year was just another year that went by that was the case. And so that's how I see this year. Except for one thing. The one thing that really impressed me this year was the Alaskan coastal Sasquatch. That really impressed me. I was blown away by it. Again, that didn't like move the ball down the field per se, but as far as like anything like entertaining production value and fairness, and it was not smothered in Bigfoot sauce. That was an amazing piece of artwork put out by that whole crew, and hats off to them, man. That moved me. So that was the only thing that moved me in this year in the Bigfoot world. Brian, what say you?
All right, just before we move on to that, are you talking about the Small Town Monsters film that they put out?
Yes.
The Alaskan. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was tracking.
Absolutely.
I had Seth on the show, and Seth Breedlove, and I talked a little bit about that, and I have not seen it yet. So I wanted to watch it, and then I want to get Alex and some of those guys back on the show to talk about it. But I've heard good things, so you're not the only person to say that. I think I certainly agree with you to a point on that, but I disagree in some ways, because I do think that there's a lot of people out there, boots on the ground, doing a lot of research. I think, to your point, I don't think a lot has happened publicly to push the ball down the field, but I know personally a lot of people that are out there busting their ass in the field trying to move that ball, and a lot of them are making discoveries, and we're seeing some of that. But to the flip side of that, I do believe that you're right. Publicly, there hasn't been a lot out there as far as here's this big piece of evidence or what have you. But like I said, I think meeting a lot of these people that are boots on the ground, doing the work and actually investigating this seriously in the correct way, I think is behind the scenes, maybe moving that ball down the field. What I see is still causing the issues is a lot of the things that come out publicly that everybody wants to talk about. It's the red circle squatches. We talked about that before. It's the video evidence. I was just fighting with somebody. I see Tiffany's in the chat right now. And Tiffany, one of my listeners, sent me a text message earlier, and she was talking about this video that I posted on TikTok recently. I had a guy reach out to me from Wisconsin, and he had a bunch of videos, and he says that he's interacting with the clan of Bigfoot on his property. I've got him scheduled to come on the show and do an interview, but he sent me a couple of pieces of video and some photographs. And I'll be honest, I don't see what he sees in the video. Right. I've got it posted on Instagram. I've got it posted on the Sasquatch Odyssey podcast TikTok, and it's 82,000 views already on my TikTok page. Right. I've got like 745 followers. So a lot of people are seeing this. Well, Tiff sent me a message earlier, and she said, "Hey, I'm glad you got that guy scheduled for an interview, because there's another Bigfoot TikTok guy talking about that video." And he took the video that somebody sent him from my TikTok, and he's asking questions about it or whatever. And it's one of two things. It is what this guy purports it to be, and it does look like there is a face in this tree that he's filming this video, right? But it also could be pareidolia. And I've had a lot of people say, I see it. There's a lot of people that says it's bullshit, right? Well, I posted another video that he sent me yesterday. I posted that today. And it's of what he purports to be a grinning Sasquatch, and you supposedly be able to see this thing's teeth in the trees. Again, I don't see exactly what he sees, but I think that is part of the problem that you're talking about with not pushing the ball down the field, because we're constantly dealing with that, right? We're dealing with things that people want to see, videos and things like that, and we go back and forth, and literally, 80 some odd thousand people and thousands of comments on this TikTok video I posted, and we're just going back and forth, and nobody really knows except for the guy who filmed it if it's real or not, right? So that's why I'm getting him on the show. We're going to have that conversation, and I'm going to ask him some tough, pointed questions because I have issues with what I see. I could be wrong. He could be right. I don't know. But I think that was a really long answer to a short question. But I do think things are happening. I just don't think it's a public display of a lot of evidence, but I think a lot of people are collecting it. I think that things are out there, and, who knows? Maybe some of it will start to come to light. But I, too, like you, get a little jaded because I say it on my show all the time. I want to know, if these things exist, because I haven't seen one, right? I've had experiences I think might have been with them, but I don't know definitively that these things are real. I've never seen anything that 100% convinced me that Sasquatches are legitimately real. Maybe outside of the new enhanced Freeman footage, which we've talked about before. That was a pretty big thing that sort of pushed the ball down the field as far as I'm concerned. And that happened in the 90s. We're talking like mid 90s when this was filmed. So, but I do think it's happening. I just think it's happening behind the scenes. And I, too, like you, wish that we had more to show the world and the naysayers and people like me who aren't 100% convinced to say that they are real. So.
Wow. Let's see. My wheels were turning a little bit.
Unpack that, Pat.
Yeah, well, there's a flag on the play. Back to our football analogy. There's a flag on the play. Loss of down and loss of half a yard. I'll just say because just to throw out a number, like stuff like that is, to me. I know what's going on in that video. I'm not sure. I don't want to turn this show into about that. I know what I see in that video. I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly what it isn't. So I was kind of leaving it at that, but that's a flag on the play. I think, the way I look at it is, and I don't want to turn it into a PG discussion either. I'll just tell you, the way, after studying the PG film, like pretty much as I can study it and look at it and be objective about it, that ain't no guy in a suit. Like, so, when I have a primatologist admitting to me, not a Bigfoot person, an actual primatologist saying the intermembrane index doesn't match, so it's not a guy in a suit, that's a huge deal. That validates sort of my own opinions. Is like, I know it's not a guy in a suit, and I can get that validated by actual professionals outside of the Bigfoot world. Then, to me, that's what put the ball on the 5-yard line. There's nothing that's even come close. So we're still kind of at that starting point, and that's kind of why I say there's nothing in 2023 or nothing in the 90s that ever happened to ever get close to the almost undisputable, never been debunked, pretty much 100% not a guy in a suit footage that we can all look at whenever we want. Like, what the hell is that thing? If it's not a guy in a suit, what is it? Let's find out. And we're not doing a good job of it. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. But again, I hate to be Debbie Downer about it, man. I appreciate your perspective on it. But yeah.
Well, why do you think that is, Pat? Why do you think that since 67 there hasn't been anything really that's pushed the ball down the court? Why do you think that is?
Good question, but there's got to be a reason. And Pat Turner, can only speculate. And the reasons I've come up with is there's not a lot of people looking. Those people I don't care who has what skill set in what area, man, they don't even come closest to any kind of small collective of professional skill sets. Even if I know one guy might be really good at tracking, X guy is good at this. There's no effort. There's no joint effort. There's no leadership. There's no professionalism. It's all amateurs And most of those people are on thrill-seeking expeditions, is my opinion, of the vast majority of anybody that goes out in the woods. I don't care what technology they carry with them. They're on a thrill-seeking mission, in my opinion. And so when you could kind of combine all those factors, the fact that there's only a few hundred of them, maybe, and they're not professionals, that at least solves part of that mystery. And there's a bigger mystery to this than just that. I'm not saying that's the end all reason, but I'd say nobody's actually really looking in our species, and definitely not the right people. And dude, no offense to Sasquatch people, like that, researchers that are trying, and they do go out there. No offense, man. It's just that it's a bigger effort than you might think. Because I think it's a way bigger effort that needs to be happen with way different skill sets. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a head scratching component still involved. I'll admit that. You know, it seems like Grandma might have would have hit one by now. I can't explain that, but for some reason that's the case. I don't know that reason, and neither does anybody else in the Bigfoot world.
True.
There's no knowledge of that.
It's
one of the speculation.
Yeah. One of the things that I talked to Dr. Russ Jones when I had Russ on the show a while back about, he's a hardcore researcher. Like, he is boots on the ground, you know, probably a couple of 100 days out of the year. This guy is in the woods at some point in time. He's a practicing physician, so he can take, you know, he's fortunate enough to be able to take a lot of time off, and he does a lot of research, and he sort of put that in perspective for me. He's like, look, you know, I'm a hardcore researcher. I'm out there 200 days plus a year in the woods looking for these things, and I'm just one guy, you know. And like you said, there may be 100, maybe 200 of those Russ Jones type of investigators out there spread across the vast, take the continental United States. And then
on any given day where conditions, like, we just don't know again, right? Like, one day they're there, the next day they're not, you know, right?
Yeah,
how many times have you heard that? I went back to the area and it was a nothing burger, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that he sort of put in perspective, because I get pissed off too. I beat my head against the wall, and some days I finish work and I'm like, is this ever going to be proven? Are we ever going to get that smoking gun? Is anyone ever really going to prove that these things are real? And then I try to have conversations with people like Russ, and he sort of put that in perspective. You know, it makes it a little like, okay, I don't like it. I too, like you, believe that there needs to be more of a concerted effort. There needs to be scientific studies looking into these things. But again, it's scientists aren't going to do that until the species is proven. They're not going to go out and look for a novel species without a body. So again, if grandmother doesn't hit one with a car, or somebody doesn't take one of these things down,
that's not true. The Billy ape, the Billy ape was a great example of science taking anecdotal accounts seriously and saying, well, let's go look. So there wasn't really a body, although there was a photograph from two people in the area that had, or one of them had killed one. They took a picture with it, like dead, like kind of holding it up, and it is a chimp. It is a it's not a like straight up. It is a variation of a chimpanzee, the Billy ape. It's bigger, right? And so that all turned out to be accurate and true. And at some point, there was enough trace evidence for scientists, which would be primatologists and anthropologists, basically boots on the ground people, to go and look for them. And guess what? They found them. They proved them. It's real. Like, that is an example of an actual cryptid proven real. Like, forget coelacanth. Like, this is a Billy ape was a huge deal for an anecdotal cryptid, albeit not much different than a normal chimpanzee. right? So that's the sort of tricky part. It's like it's not that much different, but it was definitely bigger, and it was definitely a new discovery of a different species of chimp. So that has happened.
So let me ask you another question then. Why is it do you think that because that is a thing, right? Why is it that there isn't enough evidence for folks to do the same thing with Sasquatch? Why do you think that the same thing hasn't happened for this species or whatever these things are? Why do you think that is? Because there's tons of anecdotal stories. I mean, that's all my show is anecdotal stories. There's foot castings, there's videos, there's a PG film, there's people that are purported to have eDNA, all kinds of things. Why do you think that hasn't happened with the Sasquatch?
Because it's light years heavier than like a new species of chimp that's just slightly bigger. We're talking bipedal upright walking hominid. Like they should not be here. Like, oh, a new species of chimp. Okay, that's doable in our minds. Like that's something that's sure, maybe so, right? Especially in that part of the world, North America, like, you might as well be saying Neanderthals are still here. I'm not saying Bigfoot's a Neanderthal, but you might as well be saying that. Neanderthals still walk amongst us. Like, to the scientific world, that's what you're saying. And their knee-jerk reaction, of course, is not without evidence. And, yeah, most of them are like, not without a body. But there's a bridge to be had there, I think. It takes much more compelling evidence, and it has to be hours and hours, like observations measured in hours, not seconds or minutes, conclusive, like things like that. Like, so there's a path to start opening those doors more. We are already getting some interest from younger up and coming scientists like Erica, who I had a conversation with last year. There's interest there. But it all has to be done. Like if you're gonna approach science, you gotta do it on the up and up. There can't be any of this weirdness, kookiness, or incompetence. Like that's why I use the word professionalism. To me, it's much needed. But yeah, I think I'm rambling.
Jeremiah from Bigfoot Society says because someone's pushing them not to go looking, cough, cough, big timber. That's one of those things that come up. It comes up a lot on the show. You and I have talked about it before. I'm not convinced necessarily that is what it is. I think there may be some part of that on some level locally in certain areas. I've talked to people that have had experiences where somebody from the National Park Service tried to, cover up some footprints or something, whatever. But just this global massive thing with the timber industry, I'm just not so sure that that's entirely accurate.
I know for a fact it's not.
Well, you're in the timber business, right?
I work in the lumber industry, and I could tell you 100%. Like, I mean, I could tell you, even if I didn't work in the lumber industry, I know how important lumber is to humanity. It's our second or third largest natural resource that we cannot live without. Again, like, I don't care what it is. Like, they'll throw babies off cliffs before they give up, the lumber industry is like destroyed. I mean, I hate to say that. That's a bad analogy, but the lumber industry is not going anywhere. Even if grandma hits one tomorrow in Oregon, like, sorry, lumber industry is not going anywhere. The insatiable need humans have for lumber is not going to end in any time soon. So yeah, that's just one of those knee jerk sort of, because somebody said it. Oh, it's the lumber industry. Like, no, man, you got to put way more thought into that than just saying it. Sorry. Now I'm getting on my stump. I don't want to get on a stump, Brian. I'm here to have fun with you, man.
I know. I'm gonna stop reading the damn chat.
Well, it's okay.
I just got a text from Denny. He said he couldn't find the link, but I just texted it to him, so I'm not sure if he's gonna hop on or not.
That's cool. If he shows up, awesome. I mean, I look forward to meeting these guys and some other people too, man. Like you're sort of, it's not always easy to find new people. Like I don't have the time to search every channel. It's all networking. Like I've always only ever found new people that like I could like mesh with and jive with in the Bigfoot world just through networking. You meet one person, it turns into 3 others, and like, yeah, man, it hasn't been that way in a long time for me, dude. I've sort of lost my networking skills or vibe. But I've seen some people on your show that I dig, and I'm like, I could have a conversation with those dudes, So
yeah, that's the one thing. I've had such an amazing year. I've met so many people because of the show that I would have never been able to meet or talk to, and much less call friends. I met Doug Hychick last year, and Doug knows every freaking body. He's been around for ages, and just through Doug, the introductions and the people that I've been able to meet has been phenomenal. And then people on the show, people coming on the show, listeners of the show, that have my phone number that I can communicate with and talk to and have that connection with is invaluable. In addition to just loving to do the show and loving the encounters and not shying away from anything on the show. A lot of people get pissed off because it's not always 100% about Bigfoot on my show. I do UFO encounters. Other people have had other encounters with weird things. So yeah. I try to incorporate everything into the show. Some people like that, some people don't, but it is what it is.
Yeah. My viewers don't want to talk to me at all. Hey, guess what? Your boys showed up. I'm going to bring him in, and then I'm going to step away for a minute. But before I do, hey, what's up?
Hey,
I heard somebody talk about Billy apes, so I had to show up.
All right, see,
yeah, Pat was throwing me under the bus with a Billy ape.
I can conjure people up. I conjured you guys up. What's up, man? What's up, guys? How you doing tonight?
I even changed my name, dressing up for the occasion tonight. I am Denny Pithecus. And he's Tyler Pithecus. I forgot to tell him.
I didn't get the memo. My fax is not working.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good, man.
I'm glad y'all could join us.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here, man. I saw you guys on Brian's show the other night. I was like, oh, thank God there's somebody else. Like, Brian is so boring.
He's so damn handsome, though. You know what I mean? It's like
he's a handsome man.
You can't have everything.
Son of a gun. Jesus. You ever just look at him?
Just look at that. Would you look at him?
I mean, I had to take a screenshot of him earlier, so I had to look at him for at least 10 seconds.
Oh, jeez.
I've been debating to put his picture on my green screen.
Yeah, we actually were thinking about doing that for an episode where we were going to put a picture of Brian behind all of our green screens and just do the whole episode. Yeah,
that'd be hilarious. Actually,
there's definitely something wrong with y'all.
Yeah, I'll never do that. I'm pretty sure. Just real quick, I'm pretty sure Brian pulled me over once on Roswell Road. Like, I'm thinking back, I'm like, yep, I think that was him.
If you were on Roswell Road at 3 a.m, there's a chance that it was me.
Well, it was 35. Man, dude, it's a 45-mile-an-hour road, 35-mile-an-hour speed limit.
We're seeing some stuff unfold here. There's some history here.
This is the first time I'm hearing this, so I'm a little concerned now. I don't know.
Yeah, we're dredging it up.
Whoa, don't get all cop on me.
Those days are over, man. That ended in 2016. I'm done.
No, yeah. There's some interesting conversations that could come out of that, but yeah. Hey guys, I want you to introduce yourselves and your channel. I'm gonna give you the floor to do that, and then I want to get your thoughts on the past year in Bigfoot. Bigfootery, Bigfootness,
some tomfoolery, Bigfootery. Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold on. I'm still here,
Mhm.
but yeah, introduce yourselves and your channel, and then we'll talk about the past year in Bigfootery.
Right on. Hi, folks. How are you all doing? I'm Denny, and that's just
Tyler.
Tyler from the Kentucky XFiles. And we probably have no business being here with these guys because they're the real deal. And we just kind of hang out, and they let us hang out. It's weird,
Yeah.
you know. We're kind of like their little
cousin,
brother,
like
or
like
cousin,
the
yeah,
second
like cousins.
cousin. That they're like, okay, come along.
Yeah, it's like mom made them bring us with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. We're from Kentucky XFiles. You could find us like all over the place. It's a lot of fun, and we talk to a lot of people about some of these topics. But hanging with Bigfoot guys is definitely one of the my favorite pastimes in my opinion. I don't know Ty, how you feel about it, but I just feel like I learn shit like constantly when I'm hanging out with these dudes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
I
Brian,
was plugging your channel earlier and telling folks that it's not all about Bigfoot over there. It's about any weird encounters, the UFOs, the ghosts, the dogmen, the rakes, the non-deer, deer, not deer, whatever the hell that was.
yeah,
to talk about it. It's a
not deer
all around the campfire, and that's the one thing that really drew me to your guys' show. We've talked about it obviously on the air and off about the campfire feel. You guys pop open a beer, you sit around. It's around the campfire. It's a bunch of dudes talking about stuff, and it's honestly a relief for me because my show is kind of structured. It is what it is. It's about the encounters. It's got to be, you know, I try to talk as little as possible on my show because I want the people that come on to share their encounters. But
yeah,
your show is just a different vibe, and I really enjoyed listening to it. And everybody should go over and check it out for sure. Look, Pat's back.
Yeah. Definitely, man. That's why I always say that you guys are the real deal. You know, for us, when somebody listens on our show, it's like they get to experience it at the same time as us. So we don't really go into it with any kind of like, oh yeah, this. We're pretty much like hearing the shit for the first time. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what? Really?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's like the everyday man kind of approach, I guess. You know, I just saw somebody say Tyler Scully and Denny Mulder, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I was looking at Kaiju's comment. Tyler Scully and Dinner Mulder. That's pretty.
Do
good.
I look like her? I don't know if I can pull that off.
That's a hell of a compliment. She's handsome woman right there.
Handsome woman.
You're
Pat,
muted.
You're muted, buddy.
See,
there we go.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, that's how Squatch Talk was born. Was out of campfire discussions. That's why I started the show 5.5 years ago. Totally same thing, man. Like I want to bring just the Bigfoot campfire talk, like the real talk. You know, let's bring it to the air. And I feel like I've done a good job from that. Hopefully, I haven't gotten away from it. It's kind of what we're doing here tonight, guys. So pop open the beer.
That's it.
Put another log on the fire.
I got the boosh. So,
nice.
Yeah.
and tell me, give me your thoughts, guys, about the past year, Bigfoot wise. Like anything stick out? Like goods, bads?
I want to say there was a lot of bad, because I know for a fact that we've talked about it on our show a lot, that there was this one picture that was going around, or video that was going around, that was saying it was in Missouri, it was in Wisconsin, it was in this state, this place, and it was the same thing over and over. But
Time and space Bigfoot. Yeah,
it just kept blowing up, and I was like, man,
same picture, just different states every time. Yeah,
and you could tell that, like, because the way it was a costume. Somebody was walking through a field by by the side of a river.
Yeah,
and how baggy it was, like it didn't look like anything. It just looked like somebody in a suit. So I want to say that sticks out to me the most, for the most part on that. But I don't know. Like, what about you, Denny?
It's gonna be a toss up. I mean, Time and Space Squatch was definitely a big one. I'll give you that one, dude. I mean, he was everywhere. Same picture. I'm honestly, it's like Coyote Peterson, whatever the hell his name is, like that dude. That was probably like I gave him like the what do you call it, like the gold medal of like just why are you wasting our time? Like the subject already it needs more like credibility as is, right? And you've got like 40 years of bullshit. Sorry, I don't know. Am I not allowed to cuss or anything? You just tell me.
No, you can curse. It's fine.
Okay. So I'm sorry. But yeah, like 40 years of just nonsense, and hoaxings and all this stuff. And there's like a handful of maybe interesting footage that could be something, but we don't know. And then you got something like this dude that's got like enormous pull and he's famous and all this. And he comes out and he's like, oh my God, I found this skull. I took a break from stuff stinging me. Like, dude, I think too many things have stung you.
Oh, is that you're talking? Yeah. Well, he admitted. I mean, that was kind of a goof, though, wasn't it? Like that was never meant to be like pull the rug out from under you, pure hoax. Like that.
It was.
Didn't he admit that was a goof?
He did after the backlash. That's why I was like, okay.
Because
you were trying to get away with that, you son of a gun.
Because I think we actually went back on the video, and it actually started out like that's what he was going up there to do before the video started. Like they were saying, like, "Oh yeah, it was just playing around. It was not real." Blah blah blah. But the whole the video starting from it, that's what they were there. They wanted to see if they could find something. They didn't really like frame it like that, but they were hinting at that. And then out of nowhere, they were the reaction out of everybody, especially I guess his producer or his cameraman, was like, he's like, yeah, I don't know, yeah. It's like, come on, man, you're really like somebody give this guy a Golden Globe.
It took us. We were like half drunk talking about this, and it took us like 35 seconds to find the same skull replica. It'd be like we could have literally bought it. I'm glad we didn't drink more that night, to be honest, or we'd probably have them all over the place right now.
I'd be wearing it right now.
He'd be wearing one. Yeah, I'm just saying it was. I don't know. That was kind of whatever. And then there's multiple others, but I mean,
well, there's one every week at least, right?
Yeah. The red circle.
I can't even remember them. I was actually trying to remember. Oh, what was some of the craziest bullshit I saw out of the Bigfoot world this year? And I can't even remember them. Like, I've already forgot them because they blow up in 1 week and then they go away and nobody ever comes back to it again until it will get recycled maybe a year or two later to new noobs.
Yeah.
Right? You guys know what noobs are, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So it'll get recycled to noobs and then it blows up again and you go, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. That was from a movie set. It was proven. And then everybody's like, all the internet sleuths are like, Nikki's out there going, this is from a movie set and posting, and I love that part of it when people debunk stuff really well. But
yeah, we got that. You remember the Idaho Bigfoot footage that came through where it was like this crystal clear Bigfoot walking through? We spent an entire episode talking about its penis.
We believe, dude.
We were like, this is real. Like Look at that thing.
Like...
That's real. And you couldn't convince us. And then we found out later that it was like a really good animator. Like he animated this and made the model. Yeah. It was awesome. And I'm not even mad at him because, I mean, dude, he went in there and added the weenie. You got to care about it.
He added a Bigfoot schlong.
Right? You got to care about you know what I mean? If you're going to go that far, you got to care. Okay. And I have to give him credit for that.
I'm actually not familiar with that.
Again.
I'm not familiar with that, but I'm glad you guys figured it out on your own.
Yeah.
And we'll call ourselves out when we're totally wrong about something. Like that was on our season 1 and we came back to it and we're like, yeah, it looked convincing.
Yeah. That's you got to be able to admit when you're wrong, right? I mean,
sure.
Come on. It's like, we were literally like, You hear it too. I don't even remember what episode it was, but Josh was like, "Hey, look what I found," and we were all like, "Oh, damn, he really had us going there, didn't he?" You remember when we spent that whole episode? You know, it was a mess. I got kicked out of a Bigfoot group on Facebook because I was talking about it. Oh, it's terrible.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. The lady got mad at me, man. Oh my god.
I just don't understand what the motivation for people, like, enough of that has happened. Like, clickbait is one thing. You know, if you got a big YouTube channel or something and you can get, you know, if you generate 1 million views on a video, I mean, that's pretty decent money on YouTube. So people like Coyote Peterson and others that have that type of following can do that clickbait stuff. But Joe Schmo with the freaking 500 people on his Facebook page that's created these hoaxes, I don't understand what the motivation is outside of, you know, are they just making fun of the subject? Is it?
It's total trolling, dude.
Yeah, it just baffles me. I don't get it.
I think it does. It becomes a wow. This really is low hanging fruit, and I'm going to throw it out there. And sometimes these guys will do that, and it won't be until 3 or 4 months later that the video goes viral. And then I think they're kind of caught off guard at that point, and they don't know what to do. Like, oh shit! Like I stirred up a hornet's nest. I opened a Pandora's box. Because they had some contact information on their YouTube channel, and their email box just fills up, and it's like, nope. I think half the time they probably regret it, and it never does anything good. Like you say, like a Joe, like the Mushroom Hunter guy with his channel,
and that was such a good one.
Yeah, and he hoaxed the audio into it. And sure, if you go look at his channel right now, like whatever the last video he put out has like 400 views or something. It's like, if you scroll down to that one, it's like, 800,000 views. It's like, it didn't do any good for your channel.
Yep.
So I'm like, is it a troll or are they legitimately trying to build their channel?
It's a cash grab, man. I mean, I just feel like it's a cash grab. It's like, oh, hey, there's this one channel here. I don't even want to utter its name so as not to make it any more famous than it is. 280,000 subscribers with titles like, "We'll just pretend like we don't notice the giant Nephilim walking in the forest behind us. Big red circle to nothing." This guy pisses me off so bad.
I'm not sure exactly who you're talking about.
Oh, I could send you the link. Like I said,
or you could say in private chat.
Yeah, I'll send you a link here.
Yeah, I definitely want to take a look at that. But even things like, there were some really good films that came out over 2022 that are Bigfoot centered. That A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, was a great film. And then we get to the end, and it's like this. I don't know what you guys thought about the Bigfoot at the end of that film that was supposedly filmed from the, there was all this buildup about this Bigfoot that was filmed from the helicopter when they were doing this. And then it clearly looks like a dude in a suit. I was like, am I being hoaxed right now? Is Ashton Kutcher going to come out from behind the curtain and say the whole movie was just a big waste of time? I don't even know why somebody like that would do a film like that and then add that at the end. Like, I don't even understand that. You're nodding your head, Denny. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, I think it's a cash grab, honestly. I mean, the subject's popular. You know what I mean? They what do you call it? The analytical data, like the footprint, no pun intended, has lessened for topics like ghosts and UFOs. And the UFOs big time because the government's like, yeah, we know they're there. So now it's not as exciting because the government chimed in. But Bigfoot, still exciting. Huge reach,
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's even bigger reach if you can make it even harder to obtain, which is when you start getting into the woo. So the woo extends into the unobtainable, at least if it's a dirty, filthy ape. Hey, you can put a bullet in its head, drag it in, right? You know,
Yeah.
like somebody could, right?
What it's
Grandma.
gonna take.
But if it's woo, then it's never attainable, which means hey, I could do this forever. You know, like I can make videos of faces in the woods forever or whatever because it's a ghost. You can never catch it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. We we went over this stuff over the last year until us three were sitting there like, what do we even do with this? What do we do with this? There's no steps forward from where we all are currently until something tangible comes to surface.
Right.
So
I agree.
essentially, a year from now, and I hope we're still bullshitting a year from now, we're all going to be sitting here talking about this again. And I hope we're like at least a degree farther than we were, in either direction at this point. I'm good with it.
Oh, we got our first 2023 prediction. So
Is that what that is?
Yeah, you predicted we're probably just going to be right here next year. Same spot. That's what you just said. And you said you went on to say, I hope. But there's a little bit something more.
Yeah, I mean, if something big happens, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying it's going to take something tangible. It's going to take a body. It's going to take DNA, but it's going to take more than just unknown whatever DNA they're finding. Because it's going to be unknown if we don't have anything to compare it to. I'm just saying, it's frustrating. Self-defeating investigation.
I agree, man. That is the theme with looking for Sasquatches. Frustration, pretty much out of everyone at some point.
Yeah.
So if we're doing predictions, we're transitioning into the new year here. I don't know. Just what are your thoughts, or what hopes do you have? Like, do you have hopes? Is there somebody that you're paying attention to that seems promising, like, or any particular anything that's like might shine through at some point?
Me personally, I'm not watching the internet. I've got my eyes focused very, very sharply on a town that's 40 minutes from here, from where we are in northern Kentucky. I honestly feel like I'm gonna get more of what I'm looking for by watching this town more than I am the internet, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So in real life.
Yeah. It's not going to be online. I mean, there's too much what do you call it? Deceit, if that makes sense,
I think that's a beautiful thing. And you know why is because the Sasquatch phenomena exists out there. It doesn't exist right here. It doesn't exist online. It's not Bigfoot ain't gonna show up online right now and go, I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, you're focusing on real life instead of online. I like that. That totally backs up my whole thing about the phenomena is out there.
Yeah. I went through when we first started this, I got this wild hair up my ass to go on the BFRO and just start reading. I just started at the top of the list and started research, just reading down the encounters. Then I'm like, there's too many. Let's just do Kentucky. Okay, there's still too many. Let's just do our county. Then I started to do this, and I have this spreadsheet, and I'm like marking behavior and this and what direction it was heading. Well, then I started telling Tyler here, I'm like, well, dude, I've got a little bit of a pattern going on. You want to see it? He's like, yeah. I show him. I got rid of 98% of the sightings that I had listed from that website. And I held on to 2%, but only the ones that held the certain criteria. And I told him, I'm like, okay, I'm probably wrong because I don't know. I'm not an expert in this. There's people that's been doing this longer. I was like, but if I am right, this pattern repeats about every 20 years. And sure as shit, what was it, Tyler? Like right in the middle of summer, we get an email from a person who lives in one of the areas that I mentioned that says, we saw something a few nights back. They could have listened to the show and been like, I'm going to send an email on this day and I'm going to mess with him.
Trolling you. Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean,
I,
whatever. It doesn't hurt me. That's the thing. It literally doesn't hurt me. And I try to explain that to people, you know?
Well, yeah, focus on what you want to focus on, man. No
Yeah.
judgment. No
Hey,
judgment.
it doesn't hurt. I mean, if you troll me, chances are I read your email out. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just a podcast. It's supposed to be entertainment.
True
We're
story.
supposed to be entertaining you, you know? So if you're entertained, cool. Or you wasted our time. It doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm still having fun. Hanging out with my buddies, drinking a beer.
I'm just saying, like, that means he watched the episodes too, and he waited it to now. I'm like, hey, at least you gave us a view.
Yeah.
Probably
going to hoax us.
down.
super fan. Maybe a super fan.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for those super fans.
I do actually would like to have a lot of these people that truly deny Bigfoot or anything paranormal of that on our show, because I just would like to debate with them. Like,
okay,
like what is your point? Like, why do you not believe? Like, just don't give me your cookie cutter bullcrap. Like, oh, we have so much technology, we should have already found it by now. I was like, I can't.
I could put that together for you. Do you really want to debate a hardcore skeptic?
I would.
Why
love
not?
To.
You know, it'd be
that's
fun.
The whole point. That's the point.
Yeah.
Like, we got to figure out.
I could
like,
arrange.
I want to understand his side. Why does somebody have that gut feeling saying like I don't believe? We'll
just have Josh on the show agreeing with like everything that you're skeptic about, though, because he's our skeptic.
Yeah.
I could arrange that, and I could give you a little preview of what you'd be up against.
Yeah, dude, do it
right now. Right
yeah,
now,
dude.
I can
send it.
Preview.
Full send.
Full send.
Full send. See, I can't call myself a believer or a disbeliever. I'm like firmly on the fence, and I just stay here.
Okay, no,
so it's easy for me.
I'm interested in your guys' interest in wanting to talk to a skeptic.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. I think those kinds of discussions should be had, and I'll give you a little preview of what you would be up against. Okay,
absolutely.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
That this is part of the problem is that the people that should be doing good quality evidence aren't doing it, or they're doing very little of it. And the people, and including many skeptics, such as myself, the late Daniel Dennett, and others, were trying to help the Bigfoot community get better quality evidence, right? I'm not on your show to dismiss and debunk Bigfoot. I'm here to try and encourage people to do better quality evidence, so that way next year and next month, 10 years from now, people can say, well, you know, either the evidence has not improved, that is, maybe there's no Bigfoot there, or whatever methods they're using aren't working at all. And so, I mean, that's the problem here, is that if these creatures are out there, then whatever methods are being used, such as the Skookumcast, aren't working. Not working, guys. We can all agree on this is not working. Whatever you're doing to find Bigfoot obviously isn't working. Why? Because you don't have one. So whatever techniques you're doing, whatever you're trying to do, drones, camping out, whatever, it ain't working. Do something different. So this is part of the problem. And by doing something different, it may mean better quality technology. It may mean better, more search teams. There's lots of things that you do differently. But at the same time, if those don't yield results, at some point you have to say, maybe it ain't there.
All good points.
And maybe they ain't there.
Who that
That
is?
is a possibility that has to be recognized.
Huh?
Yeah.
Who is that?
That is a possibility.
That's Benjamin Radford. He's a skeptical inquirer level skeptic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes good points. You know,
Yeah.
I made some of those very same points on my show. I am not drinking the Bigfoot Kool-Aid every day of the week. I believe that people who come on the show have had some sort of experience. I don't put people on the show I don't believe that they've had their experience. But I'm not convinced, like I said earlier, before these guys got on, I haven't seen one. So I'm still there on the fence. You know, I'm 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40. Sometimes it's 70-30. I agree with him. You know, clearly we've been looking for these things for a very long time. And I say we collectively. I'm not out there actually doing it, right? I do my research behind the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Denny does way more research than I do, just going down the rabbit holes on different sites and whatever he can find on the internet. But at the end of the day, clearly, if they do exist and there's enough people out there looking for them, then we should have something. I don't know what his bone with the Skookum cast. I'd be very interested to know if you had that conversation with him, Pat, or maybe you can give some insight on what he was talking about with the Skookum cast. But I believe that there are parts of this research that are out there with certain casts, for example. It's always the footprints. It always comes back to the footprints for most everybody on my show. That is, in my opinion, some of the best evidence that we have. And when people like Meldrum and other people break that stuff down, even Cliff Barackman, and he's not a PhD, he's not an expert, but he's done enough analysis on footprints. Tom Shea comes to mind from Northern Kentucky, right? Tom Shea has done a lot of casting of footprints. He knows the difference in something that's fake and not. And to say that stuff should be thrown out with the bathwater, I'm not so sure that I'm on that trail, but the guy makes a lot of good points. I'd love to have him on the show. We could have some.
It shouldn't be thrown out with the bathwater. The problem is so especially you guys, man, like if you really want to talk to a real skeptic, I say a real skeptic, somebody way outside the Bigfoot world, man, they're going to throw some hard-hitting realities in your face that maybe you haven't considered. It's almost lawyer-like talk. You gotta be careful with that. The fact is that footprints combined, take every footprint cast we have, it technically that's trace evidence. That's not a body. That's not a femur bone. That's not a skull. It's not hard evidence to these people because that is how science works. And they are correct in saying it's trace evidence. So take everything we got. Take the PG film. It's definitely not a guy in a suit. Take all the footprints. Wow, this is crazy. There's something here. We all know that there's something to that. And all the anecdotal accounts, which in and of itself is never evidence, put those together, and all you have is trace evidence. So that's the best evidence that can be brought to the table. Period.
I think for me personally, I always like to try to appreciate what I'm looking at. With like the Peterson, Gimlin, all the castings and everything, the absolutely enormous community that's involved with this subject. And I have to say that in the end, I enjoy bonding with everybody of all sides of this, skeptic, believer, investigator, over the topic more than actually the topic itself, I guess. For me, if Bigfoot was proven right now, tomorrow, I would be a little sad about it.
Yep. And that's one of the first pieces of ammo. I can play the role of a skeptic. I am a skeptic, actually. First pieces of ammo they use is, so you're in it for the camaraderie. Fuck with
Absolutely.
your head. Fuck with your head. Like, I mean, there's
I'm good with that.
Just because you personally are in it for the camaraderie doesn't mean that there's a 8-foot tall undiscovered hominid walking around.
Yeah.
Seems to have more to do with you than it does an actual being
absolutely, because I don't matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm just another guy looking for answers like everybody else. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why, like, for me, I know I'm a really frustrating person to talk to for either side, because if they're a believer, I'm like, well, that's awesome, man. I want you to find your answers. And if they're a skeptic, they're usually coming directly at me, trying to twist my words around. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. I'm good either way. Like, if we discover it, if I can help, I will help you. If not, man, I will be there for you regardless. and I'm cool with it. You know,
No, I get that.
I love it.
I get that, and I respect it. Like
Yeah.
that's
because there's other paranormal and unexplained things out there that I don't even question anymore. You know what I mean? There's other things
that those things happen to people. Yeah,
that they happen to people. Yeah, and people have come to us. We had one visit us on our season finale, which I did not expect her to even reach out again to us because she was so traumatized by what had happened to her. She tells us on the phone, breaks down on the phone with us, telling us her story about this thing that walked right past her and her son. And her son literally can't sleep at night anymore because of it, because of what they saw. And she came to our show and she said, "You're the only ones I've ever told about it, and you're the only ones I ever will." And I'm like, okay, so we may not have helped you discover whether it was real or not, but God damn it, we were there right when you needed somebody to tell. And I am completely okay with that. You know?
Yeah, I think that's the missing piece that people don't get about shows like yours and shows like mine who do the encounter stories, is because you get the behind the scenes. And I've tried to convey that to people on the show all the time, is you have a connection with these people. Sometimes I talk to these people 10 or 12 times before they ever come on the show. They're nervous. They're affected by what happened to them. And you become sort of a therapist for them. And it's a conduit for them to release all of this negative energy that they've had bottled up. Sometimes I've been the only person that has heard what these people have told. Only a couple of times on the show, and I don't really ever publicize it, but I've changed people's names a couple of times, their first names, and I might even change the state where they're from because they're really concerned about other people finding out that, you know, they've had this experience because it was so traumatic for them. And that's the lost piece that I think a lot of people lose when it comes to sort of the commodity of the Bigfoot phenomenon. And it, you know, my show is a part of that, you know, is it's so commercialized now, but you don't really understand, or unless you're on that receiving end, the connections that you have with people that have these sort of encounters and how they share them on shows like ours. And to your point, you know, you were there for her when probably nobody else would have been. And if you can do that for one person in your life ever, I think it makes you a better human being. If you can do it 150 times a year on a show, I think you're doing your part. And I think that's one of the things that gets missed a lot of times. And, you know, podcasters take a lot of shit. At least I know I do in this community. You know, people get upset about what you do on your show, what you don't do on your show. At the end of the day, my show is about the people who have the encounters and they want to tell their story. That's it. It's not about me. It's not about anybody else. It is about whoever I have on for that 45 minutes or that hour-long show. I completely devote my life to that person for that amount of time that I'm in front of them. And it's a connection that, you know, I've made 250, 300 times at this point. And it never gets old to me because I really do enjoy having that connection with other people. I'm an introvert. I don't go out much. I don't have a ton of friends, right? So that is sort of an outlet for me. And that's why I started the show in the beginning. And that's why I continue to do it every day. So I agree with you, Denny. If nothing else comes out of it, if it's never solved, if it's solved tomorrow, that'll be something that you can never take away when you have that kind of connection with other people.
Yeah. That's it, man.
Yeah,
that's
well said. Go ahead, man.
Absolutely. No, I was just gonna say I'm not trying to talk a book about this. He said it perfectly. You know, but that's it. I don't leave a whole lot of meat to be picked off for skeptics because I'm like, dude, you're right. Like, brother, you're right. Oh my God.
Good
point. I want to learn from you. I don't need to debate anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had Steven Strufert from the Coalition for Critical Thinking group on Facebook. If you know Steven, he's a skeptic, right? I got eaten alive in that group when I first got into the Bigfoot podcast. And I thought, oh, here's a group I'll join and I'll just post my stuff. And they annihilated me. I left the group like Leon and I have talked about it on the show before. I left the group like 3 times and Steven would reach out to me privately every time. Just come back. Some of them are assholes. It is what it is, but you do a good show. People like to hear, you know, that kind of stuff. And he's a skeptic, but we found ourselves agreeing way more for that hour plus show that I did with him than we did disagreeing, you know, because I think if you're really truly honest about what you're doing in this business, and in this community, you're going to do that more times than not. If you are 100% convinced and there's no way that anybody's ever going to change your mind unless you've seen one, unless you've had an encounter that has convinced you, if you're just drinking somebody else's Kool-Aid, we're probably not going to get along very well, and we're not going to have a very long conversation, because I like to talk to people that I don't necessarily agree with all the time. I think that's how you learn and how you grow.
Discourse is much needed in this subject. Actual discourse, real discourse. I can't say it enough. Say discourse one more time, motherfucker. Like, I want to punch myself in the face.
We need more discourse. And that's the thing. I've listened to other people's shows that I really wanted to get into. And if I'm 10 minutes into a show and the person has somebody on and they're agreeing with absolutely everything that they have to say, I get shit on my show because I don't push people sometimes as hard as I should with tougher questions. And I understand that. I am a professional. I try to treat everybody with respect, and I try to treat people the way I'd want to be treated if I came onto a show. I'm not going to attack anybody, but I'm going to ask some tough questions. And I've tried to do that more and more recently, because I think we have to do that to move that ball. According to Pat, we're on the 5. Joe disagrees with everybody.
Yeah.
We're on the 5-yard line, and we've been there since 1967. But I think unless we all who have a platform to do so and start asking some tough questions, like going back to the video we were talking about earlier on TikTok, I can't wait to get that guy on the show, because I'm going to ask him some tough questions about the context behind those videos and some of the claims of interacting with his clan and all the things that are going on. I have some questions about that, and I'm certainly going to push him for those answers. And I think we have a moral responsibility. To Denny's point, my podcast is supposed to be entertaining. It does entertain a lot of people, but Kaiju disagrees with himself. But at the end of the day, you have to start asking those tough questions and push people on what they're purporting to be real if we're ever going to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And dude, Brian, I've come to appreciate your moxie with that. I was actually surprised by it. Because when I think of it as somebody that sort of their meat and potatoes is encounter stuff, like actually you shouldn't be, God, how do I say this? You shouldn't be hot seating your guests too much. That makes sense. Like,
it's definitely a balance, man.
It's like, okay, you're going to come on, you're going to tell me what happened. Like, that's not necessarily the place of the hot seat. It's more in these live environments where the hot seat should come into play. Like Leon says, put me in the hot seat if you ever feel like you need to. And I'll say that too. Put me in the hot seat. Let's talk about my woodknock encounter, where I got raped by 3 Sasquatch. Put me in the hot seat. Did that happen? Did it? Did the flying spaghetti monster make an appearance? I don't know, but
we actually
in the hot seat for that.
Yeah, we have evidence against the flying spaghetti monster sent to us by one of our fans.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He actually went out of his way to make sure that he got this to us. And as soon as you brought that up, I'm like, oh my God, this information is gonna finally. Yeah. So. He says that spaghetti actually has a shelf life, fellas.
Very interesting.
What if it goes through a portal?
I don't know.
What if it's cosmic spaghetti?
I see the spiraling, so I'm going to try to be a professional here. Back to one of the comments somebody asked, and I want to be respectful of folks in the.
Okay.
Jake Watson asked, Brian, any updates around the activity around your property? I also wonder if you're still going to post the photos a listener edited of some kind of dogman figure. When did the apple thing? Yes, I'm going to post those photos. And no, we've not had anything. I haven't put anything else out on the offering stump. The rock that I put out there is still there. So no new activity around that. But I thank you for reminding me, because I actually forgot to post those photos. But just back to sort of circle back and close out the hot seat conversation and people on the encounter shows. You have to understand, like, to Pat's point, when I have people on the show, if I bring somebody on and completely annihilate them on the show, even if in the middle of the interview I get sort of my spidey sense goes off and I think they might be bullshitting me, I'm not going to dress anybody down on the show. I'm just not going to do that.
No one would ever come back.
Right. Nobody's going to come back on my show if I do that. So
Yeah.
I have to treat those people sort of with kid gloves, because that's the kind of environment it is. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to, now if somebody's hawking something, if you're Todd Standing and you come on the show, I'm probably going to push you a little harder than I am Joe
Sure.
Schmo from, Timbuktu, who saw a Bigfoot.
There's
You
Bigfoot.
know.
That was
Right.
Bigfoot.
So if you're hawking something, then, if you got something to sell and you make your money in Bigfoot, I'm probably going to push you a little harder than somebody who wants to come on and share their encounters, and like the guy who sent me the videos recently, he seems like an upstanding guy. He's a fan of the show and he's sending me the stuff and he's passionate about what he's seeing in these photos and videos. There may be a there. I'm going to post some photos probably tomorrow. One of my listeners from South Africa, of all places, sent me a message today, and he actually took a couple of the stills from the videos, and he removed some of the sticks and the leaves and things that were in front of this purported Sasquatch's face. And I have to be honest, there looks like there may be something there. It could be pareidolia. I don't know. I'll post those photos tomorrow maybe, and you guys can take a look at them on Instagram or whatever and let me know what you think. But, I'm not going to him if there may be something going on there that may not be exactly entirely accurate. I'm not going to dress him down on the show because that's just not what it's about. But
No, I think, dude, if you're going to bring inconclusive video to any platform anywhere, you're in the hot seat. So that's different from anecdotal. So just to be clear, man, when people have anecdotal accounts and they want to tell them, I think they should be given a free and fair platform to just tell their story. It's not your job to put them in the hot seat or question them. Like, well, you said, you were facing west, but then hold on, I just found you contradicting yourself in a slight little manner, west to north and whatever, right? No, dude, listen, let's be honest here. The anecdotal encounters, in a weird way, it's entertaining. Like, people love to hear these stories, obviously, even like my buddy Jeff's story, man, where what did they stop to take a pee on an island and freaking Jeff walked up a trail and got a freaking log thrown at him. Like, that's a crazy story, dude. It's fascinating. But that happened to that guy. Jeff's my friend. That happened to that dude.
And Sasquatch Odyssey was the first place that he ever told that story publicly.
And
I got a lot of shit for that episode because it was all about how he was bullshitting and he's telling a lie. And I'm like, you don't know Jeff. I didn't know Jeff from Adam at the time.
Yeah.
Right. But I've gotten to know Jeff since then. Pine Island Research on Facebook, that's who we're talking about. And Jeff's an upstanding guy. Jeff is not going to bullshit. Jeff doesn't lie about his encounter. And I 100% believe that happened exactly the way that Jeff told it. And again, even if I didn't believe that, I'm certainly not going to dress him down on the show because of that. It is what it is. I created this show to give people a safe place. And that's a triggering word, I've even gotten shit about that. It's a safe place. It's warm and fuzzy. No, it is a safe place for people to come.
Fair word.
Without judgment. That's what it means. I'm not going to judge you. None of the people that listen to your story should judge you. You should be able to come and tell your story, and it is what it is. I say take what you want and leave the rest. There's been a couple of people on my show in the past that have slipped past and said, yeah, after I listened back, there might have been some mental health issues on board, or that person was probably embellishing their story to some degree. It is what it is. It's a story. I've had encounters that happened to me when I was 16. When I tell the encounter that I had or when I saw a UFO, I'm sure I get shit wrong because I'm 48 years old. So I'm not 16 anymore. My recollection changes. Things change about the story. It is what it is. But you know when somebody has had a real encounter and when they haven't, because when you can look them in the eye and you can hear their voice when they're telling that story. And again, I don't have anybody on my show that I don't believes that they've had the experience that they share on the show.
Yeah. And so
I'm off my soapbox.
vetting. No. There's a vetting process. And again, at the end of the day, it's just about letting people tell their stories. And I take no exception to the word safe place. I take no exception to that, man. And I'm not a woke guy, if you will, right? Anything but, right? But you know what? I can understand the humanity behind, let's just say, 16-year-old kid hunting squirrels that, like, you know, all of a sudden 30 feet in front of this 16-year-old kid hunting squirrels, you know, appeared an 8-foot tall, 4-foot wide shoulder monkey man thing just staring him down, and he pissed his pants. I can appreciate that for the reality of what it freaking was. And I'm sorry, dude, if there's tens of thousands of people just making those stories up, then so be it, dude. Brian, you and I are idiots, and the rest of you, you know, like you, Tyler, and Denny, like, we're just all idiots, and we're gullible people.
True.
Right?
Man, that's how we have to start to get on the path of knowledge, though. We have to be idiots first.
Yeah, and somehow we become gullible to the pissing your pants when you see an 8-foot tall monkey man and you're 16 years old story. Right? Like, that's not a thing. Like, look, it is what it is. So that's why, like, people actually do need a safe place to tell their story, and they can do it anonymously, right? Brian, they don't, like, you know, maybe their name was Jake, maybe it wasn't, you know, but you had them on the show, they told their story, bam, it's in the record books forever.
And that's one of the things that every one of the shows, in my opinion, that catalog these encounter stories is an archive that will live on in infinity, right? My show will be out there forever. I'm 250 something shows in on the Sasquatch Odyssey at this point, and every single one of those stories is going to be there in perpetuity for people to go back and listen to. And I say it all the time. I think people hear those, and I know they do because they reach out to me 3 or 4 times a week. I'll get an email from somebody who stumbled across the show. Believe it or not, unfortunately, not everybody listens to my show yet. But when they find the show, they say, oh my God, I listened to episode 110, and I had the exact same shit happen to me that dude had. And I'm like, well, come on and tell your story, because that's important. It's anecdotal. You can't prove it, but it is your story. Come on and share it, because there's probably, you know, my show was, thank God, right before the end of the year, we hit over 3.5 million downloads this year. And for some people, they do that in a month. But for my show, that's a big deal. And a lot of people listen to those encounters. And somebody out there, and I say it often, is going to hear what somebody else has to say. Somebody heard Jeff's story, and whether they reached out to me or not, it made a difference to them because they probably had something very similar happen to them. So that's why I keep doing the show. That's why I give people that space, judgment free, to come on and tell their story. And 98% of the people who listen to my show digest it that way. It's judgment free. They take it for what it is. And some people reach out to me and send me emails and ask if they can contact the person on the show because they want to talk to them because they've had similar experiences. And now we're connecting other people. So, you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's entertaining for a lot of people, but it's serious business for a lot of people who have those encounters.
It is. It plays a double role. You know, it's not just entertainment. I totally get that. And while I have you here and we're in that gear, Brian, I want to ask you and kind of, you know, pick your brain about, like, I mean, there is a vetting process. You do, right? You do vet people?
That question comes up a lot. When you said that earlier, I made myself a note to maybe go back to the vetting. Honestly, there's not a ton of vetting outside of talking to people.
Right.
I don't do the Steve Coles and ask them things backwards and forwards and 6 times. That's really not what it's all about for me. Is outside of me, for me, people want to email 10 times or they want to call 10 times. I want to get you face to face and I want to have a conversation with you. That's what I'm all about. If you've had an encounter and you share it with me in an email, that's great. But I want you to definitely come on and let me look at you face to face and you get the experience out there, because I can't really vet you. I've got somebody who's coming on the show in the next couple of weeks. I've scheduled about 25 interviews over the next couple of months. And I think it was 1977. He and his family had an encounter with a Sasquatch. How can I vet that? I can't vet that.
No, I get that.
Outside of asking some questions.
I'm not talking about being like, background check vetting, but I mean, I don't know, like gut instinct. I mean, you were a police officer. You heard a lot of bullshit.
No,
your
never.
career.
It's always
like,
true.
No, we applied for the tag, whatever, right?
How much have you had to drink tonight, Pat? Just one beer. It's always just one. I had one drink with dinner. It's never that.
Just
Fifth Amendment.
None of your business. I haven't drank any. Oh, I smell alcohol in your breath, though, Mr. Turner. Shit.
I did DUI for like 3 years, dude. I locked up 265 drunks a year, so I know how to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, look, you do have some professional skill sets as far as like BS detectors. You know what to look for. You know the right questions to ask. You know how to trip people up.
And that's the thing. People have said that about the show. I never get in that mode. I try to completely avoid police mode because I treated people very fairly and I was a very decent person, but there is a certain level of assholery that just comes with being a cop, especially in the city of Atlanta. You just have to be an asshole a lot of the time. So I try to cut that off when I'm dealing with people on the show. I try not to go into police mode because I don't want to intimidate them. I want them to be able to have a connection with me. And I think I've done a decent job. I don't think the show would be as successful as it is if I weren't able to sort of make those connections with the people on the show. And those connections are real. There's people that have been on the show that I still talk to this day. Episode 5 of the show, I got a text message from that guy 3 days ago who just discovered evidence in North Carolina. I haven't talked to him since he was on the show, but he still had my phone number and he saved it all this time. And he reached out and we were able to have a conversation. So those are the real connections that are made on the show, or at least that's what I try to do. And speaking of tomfoolery, I wanted to go back and ask, I don't know what Prairie Fire is saying. Brian needs to go on Spaced Out Radio. They accept all that woo. Maybe you can clarify that because I don't know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, we're I don't know either.
I really just want to know what woo is because I hear this a lot, and I just kind of sit here and nod. I'm like, oh,
am I talking
I love
woo?
Chinese food.
I don't know when I was talking woo, but
I've never heard you
Prairie
talk.
Fire can maybe clarify that statement. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What does it mean?
That's one of my biggest things I get in trouble a lot because I challenge people who challenge me openly on social media and comments and shit like that. Like I don't like to I don't even know what the fuck that means. So please tell us.
Welcome to the live world. I'll tell you this much. Sometimes context gets lost in chat. So you always have to remember that, like context.
Well, no, he says, okay, he just said they accept almost any Bigfoot story. Okay, I accept any Bigfoot story on my podcast because if somebody had a story to tell, they can come on the show and tell it. I don't say that every story that comes on is exactly 100% how it happened, but I do an encounters podcast for people to share their Bigfoot stories. So any show that does that is going to accept any Bigfoot story. Again, it goes back to the vetting. I'm not an investigator who goes out and investigates these people's stories from 25 years ago.
Okay, so how about this, Brian? Would it be fair to say, like, have there been people approach you that, you know, you got some kind of red flag and decided, you know, I don't want to put this on air.
It's happened 2 times since I've started the show that I've actually
wow,
interviewed.
really?
2 times since I've started the show, I've interviewed, went through the entire interview, dedicated an hour to the person, and it didn't air because one of them I think was completely 100% bullshit, and the other one I think was mentally ill, and I didn't air either one of those. But it's only happened twice.
Okay, so just like the fact that you interview people and you will talk to people beforehand before you hit record, right?
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the very first time I ever talk to somebody face to face, and I do that often. That's one of my tricks of the trade. If people has ever been on the show and I've interviewed you, I've even told people, I don't tell people that every single time, but okay, trade secret here. I do that because I want to hear the story for the first time, because I want to be able to react in real time. I don't want it to be canned. I don't want to hear the story 6 times backwards and forwards before you tell it to me on the show. That's just how I like to do things. Some people may do it differently. You know, some people may go through some kind of interview process. We do have a questionnaire that we typically send out to people, that Danny will send out to people before we schedule them, just to kind of weed through some of the craziness, because I get a lot of emails. I get a ton of emails every single week. But in general, I don't like to do that because I want it to be real time, me hearing it for the first time, reacting just like the audience, even though it's pre-recorded. 90% of the time, outside of the couple of live shows I've done recently on YouTube, I do edit, but I never edit content that is, it's an it's a cough, it's a background noise. I never take anything out that has to do with the story. I don't twist people's words.
I don't edit because I'm terrible at it. I always say I'm going to in the show, and then I never do. I'm like, I'm leaving it. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
It's a discipline thing, right? Editing is not fun. It's not, well, I kind of enjoyed it. It's sort of therapeutic for me. I might take an hour episode and it might take me 3 hours to edit it because I'm meticulous. And I've even had people leave me comments, believe it or not, and they criticize the show because I take out the ums and the uhs and the pauses, and they say it's not natural, but whatever. Prairie Fire says, does it matter how outrageous the story is? No, because it's their story. I saw a freaking UFO when I was 16 from 600 feet away. That's pretty outrageous, but it happened to me and it's real. So if somebody has an outrageous Bigfoot story, Dave from, I think, episode 6 or 9 of my show had some weird shit that he talked about. He talked about feeding Sasquatches from arm's length and how he knew they hunted with coyotes. Did I put something in the intro to say, you know, I'm going to let you digest this how you want? It is what it is. I'm not sure that it, you know, as Independence Day, it's not entirely accurate, but it is his story. Who am I to say that he didn't do that? Right. So
Ryan, at least you're not writing their encounters for them like other big shows do.
Yeah, that doesn't happen on my show. Everything you hear is 100% legit. Now, I
literally got an email from a Dogman guy who told us that he went on, well, this will be really easy for y'all to narrow it down. He went on the Dogman show, and his whole story was retold and re-edited to follow a different narrative. The one he told us was entirely different than the one that came out on that show. So, you know,
yeah, he said that it wasn't even
more, or would you rather have somebody edit it and piece your story together to what fits their narrative? Yeah.
He was like telling us that it was never like he never said that it was a Dogman. He said he didn't know what it was.
He said he didn't know what it was.
But it was edited that way.
Oh wow, Tyler, was that a scary Dogman encounter you had?
No, I don't know what it was.
Goodness.
I couldn't see it. No.
You tell your uncle.
Can you stop
Nick
talking like that, please?
I can't say his name, right? So I'll say Nick.
Yeah, I've had people reach out to me after their show has aired and say, I appreciate you not twisting my words, because that's a concern for a lot of people who come on shows like mine, that they're going to be made fun of, or I'm going to twist their words. I'm going to edit it to, you know, I did a television show. I've said it a couple of times on my show and other shows I've guested on. I did a Vice show last year. And I was so afraid that they were going to edit it to make me look like a total dumbass. And they didn't. The only thing that they edited was at one point here on the property, we'd found some structures and things that looked like it could have possibly been something. And I said, there's no way I can definitively say this was made by a Sasquatch. And they edited it to say, it looks like I'm saying this was definitely made by a Sasquatch. But if you can get out of a 45-minute show, even on a network like Vice, that's the only thing that comes out of it that was edited wrong, I'll take that. But I never do that to anybody on my show because I have to answer these people. At the end of the day, I'm a human being. I'm a person. And I'm not going to do that to somebody on my show. If I did, I wouldn't have one of the top 5 Bigfoot shows in the world. That's just the reality. So I'm going to continue to do things the way I've always done and treat people that way because the word spreads. People talk, people make their rounds around some of these shows. Wes and I have had some of the same people on our show. Doug and I have had some of the same people. If you mistreat people, people are going to know about it. You can do people right 100% of the time, millions of times, and nobody's ever going to say anything about it. But you screw somebody over one time and make them look stupid, everybody's going to know about it. And I don't want to treat people that way. That's not what my show's about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I get that, Brian. You have to. I mean, sometimes there's a fine line to walk, but at the end of the day, like, I totally, completely understand. Like, if you're going to do a straight up encounter show, you just got to let the person tell the encounter. Like that's what it is, man. And yeah, sure. Like at the end of the day, some of that's going to be there. Whatever percentage slips through the cracks is maybe not true, whatever, I've dealt with that myself personally. But it's an encounter show and people like to hear about encounters, and guess what? They're going to hear a lot of real encounters.
Absolutely. I believe that wholeheartedly. Kaiju, I don't know if you're asking me if I've ever had a dogman encounter or if I've ever had dogman encounters on the show.
Yeah.
I certainly have never had dogman encounters. I have my own issues with dogman in general, but I've had a couple of people on the show that have shared. I've had Bettina Moss on from Crypto Normal Encounters who shared hers. And I've had a lady earlier on last year that I think Anne was her name, that had a couple of encounters. But yeah, that's the only 2 I've ever had on the show. I'm actually trying to get a couple of people. I'm working with a guy now who's actually sent me a text message today that claims he's had a couple of dogman encounters. So we'll see. I don't know about those, man. I've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. I'm not sure if it may be a bunch of misidentification. Maybe they're seeing a Sasquatch and thinking it is, or maybe it is a kangaroo. I'm not sure. Denny, what say you?
Pat, I wanted to add to Pat that I totally agree with his about vetting. Me and Tyler learned this the hard way when we first started. We're sitting in a basement with this little recorder on a phone with a lady who was telling us the dog man was opening her trash cans and taking her trash bags out and then closing the cans before. And me and Tyler are looking at each other and we're like, because there's no way a human could have done this. Like, maybe we should vet these a little bit. Maybe we should, get a little bit of dialogue before, just to see. And what was it, like a year later, we got her back on the phone and talked to her for a good 10, 15 minutes and decided that that should never see the light of day. And probably the first time it shouldn't have either, So I think what Pat's trying to say about like vetting, I feel like he's making a good point. We learned it the hard way.
Yeah, I definitely get it.
We've
created Danny has really done a good job with the show as the executive producer and really created some really good questionnaires that sort of weed some of that stuff out. We'll get some of the questionnaires back and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to fly. So, but again, only 2 times I've ever had somebody get past that point and actually sit down with me for an interview that I just had to scrap and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to air that. Just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Dog man, 100% misidentification of North American kangaroos. Bam.
Denny's on that bandwagon.
I just got a video sent to me just like 2 days ago.
Like from
It was a
Iowa
cop,
or something.
It was like a cop in Missouri, and I gave my buddy who's he was on the show. He's police chief in Missouri. I gave him a bunch of shit. I'm like, how did this kangaroo slip past you? This is the dog man we're looking at here, and what are you doing? What are you doing, Landis? I'm gonna call him out. I'm calling him out by name. He'll watch this later.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Landis. You need to be out there catching these kangaroos, man. We need to put this to rest.
For some reason, people are seeing kangaroos in the woods. Explains Dogman 100%. But yeah, again, that's sort of my jaded point of view towards all that stuff.
I'm just saying, like, I'm 100% on board with the kangaroo thing. I really am.
All right,
like,
cool.
And it's getting
Well,
more and more, you know.
You're the first person that's actually gotten on board with my
I have an entire file on the kangaroo thing.
Kangaroos. Yeah. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, every kangaroos in the United States is a thing.
Yeah, I get these scary ass texts with these buff ass kangaroos from Denny, and I'm like, what in the?
Oh,
but
yeah, the kangaroo that's all buffed out and stuff.
Big black claws.
Dog man.
Red eye shine.
Yeah, and they're mean as shit too.
And they're total pricks.
They're so. I don't want to. I hope I never find one.
They have like Velociraptor freaking claws off their little hands there.
Yeah, there's a video of one mini at a person's window tapping on it.
You listen to every single encounter, and it's like, hey, look, this thing was stared at me, and it smirked at me. How does it smirk, right? Nobody ever describes that. It smirked, and it stared at me, and it tapped on my window with its claws. And then go and look up kangaroos being assholes on YouTube, and there's actually one where he's sitting there clicking on the window, staring at the person with this crazy ass look in his eyes. I'm like, dude, that's the dog man right there. It's a kangaroo. If you saw that in the middle of the woods, dude, I would shit.
You almost had me convinced, Denny. I'm right there with you. I definitely think people are seeing something.
You know what?
I forgot about D.A. Roberts. I've had 3 people on the show that think D.A. was the latest one. Former law enforcement, very respectable guy. I think he saw something. I'm just not sure that it was a dog man. I think, could have been some sort of misidentification. I don't know.
Squatcheroo. That's what we should
Squatcheroo.
Yeah. Hold on. Squatcheroo. That's what we should call him. Yeah. Nice nomenclature there, Shane. I like it.
I've been sitting on the stove for like almost an hour and 45 minutes, Pat. My ass is hurting. Are we gonna go? You want to move into the 2023 predictions? What's coming up for next year? What do you got going on? You want to start? Who do you want to start?
I want the Kentucky boys to start. My Kentucky boys.
Season 3 Kentucky XFiles. What's coming up?
I predict on the Kentucky XFiles, we will get more drunk than any previous episode before and probably not prove anything that we want to. This happened. This happened once, and the episode never aired. I think that Dogman is going to be proven kangaroos. That's going to happen. I don't know about Bigfoot yet. I don't think there's that many. If they're out there, there can't be that many. Sorry.
I love this guy.
Sorry. Me and Todd Standing are going to disagree on this one. I don't think there's 100,000 of them out there mating left and right. There's like 25 million deer in Kentucky, and I don't see them everywhere. I'm looking out my window right now. You know what I mean? And this thing's like a stealth champion. Come on.
I would hate to play hide and seek with it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think there's like 10. There's probably more than 10, but I'm just saying, think about it.
Ballpark.
I'm just saying, there's not that many.
Yes. Okay. All right. 10.
Tyler, save me to predict something. Come on.
I don't know. I feel like you hit
Tyler,
everything.
what you got? Show me what you got.
What's more about what you guys have coming up? You got season 3 coming up. What are you guys focusing on? You just
like important stuff.
lined up. What you got coming up on the show?
We got a couple people lined up right now for the beginning of season 3. I think Denny has a couple people.
Yeah.
Had a
I got
couple,
this guy
encounters.
reached out to me. He's a an amateur urban explorer, and he's trying to like get into ghost hunting and stuff. And he literally has a video that he showed me where he flung himself out of a window of a house to get away from whatever's was in the house. And he won't put the video public on YouTube. And he basically told me that I'm not trying to make money off this, dude. He's like, I'll show you, I'll talk to you about it. And that's pretty much it for me. He's like, I don't go exploring by myself anymore. I don't do any of this by myself anymore. This is me. And I'm like, dude, you have to be on the show. You have to tell us and show us and explain what happened and all this. It's terrifying. I can't wait.
I want to be a part of that show. That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Dude, you should. It'll be fun.
And I think what I feel like this season we're going to try to focus a little bit more on like UFOs, aliens, more of that, because I feel like we dive like little bit into it on every season, but we never really focus on that. I really want to get more sightings and encounters. We've had a couple guests on our show that had like crazy stories, and I want to hear more about this, like especially this triangle UFO, man.
That thing is interesting.
Yeah, it's been going like wildfire all over the place. So I would like to hear more sightings about that.
I've got a guy too. He's from India, right? So his English is good, but not great, right? He's really good, dude. I talk to him every week, and I literally was like, so man, do you guys have Bigfoot in India? And he's like, show me what Bigfoot is. And I'm like trying to find pictures, and I show him, and he's like, oh yeah. And then he says something that I'll never be able to pronounce. And he goes, yeah. He's like, do you have them here? And I'm like, what? Like, really? Are you kidding me right now? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is this here? And I'm like, well, they say it is. He's like, in the mountains north, up where it's colder. That's where these are. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, are you what are you saying this? He's like, yeah, why is this a big deal?
That'd be Yeti.
I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? Are we over here in America? Like, are we making this big deal, and like other countries are just like, yeah, that's just, yeah, we got this. What are you guys worried about? Yeah, I don't know, man, but I want to get him on too, just to tell his stories that he knows about, I think it'll be fun, it's like Bigfoot, or you like, what'd you say, Pat? Yeti? Yeah, Yetis from wherever. I think it'd be awesome. But it's like, I want to get that. I want to get more different viewpoints. I want to dive into this triangle, man. This thing is everywhere. They just saw it in Las Vegas. Did you guys hear about this? It's right above a casino.
That's
it's
not
nuts, man.
Yeah,
Somebody
I think it was it was just all over like TikTok and stuff. And
somebody
I'm really skeptical.
in Las Vegas. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I'm just saying, they're still
that's
coming
Las
in.
Vegas thing. That's not a Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like I want to dive into that. I want to trace that a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't feel like we're adding anything to the Bigfoot thing right now. If anything, we might be hindering progress. I don't want to do that.
Oh no! Is there a flag on the play? Did we move the ball backwards? Oh,
yeah,
no.
We got invited to go to a Bigfoot like investigation. Wasn't it Charlie Raymond? I think it was.
Yeah, the Kentucky. Bigfoot research.
Yeah, he invited us out, and I don't know. Maybe we'll tag along with him one night and see if we can't wrangle up a squatch or two with him, or I don't know how it works. I mean, I've never been to one.
Apparently, if we ever find one, I'm supposed to wrestle it.
Tyler is going to wrestle a Sasquatch if we do see one. That is happening. Can confirm.
Good luck, Tyler.
I think he can take him.
I think it'd be a great pay-per-view. We get proof of Sasquatch, and you get an awesome show after that. Like me getting my ass kicked.
Or killed.
Or killed. Hey, entertainment.
Yeah, it'll be for the sake of entertainment. We'll put Tyler in great.
Tyler will take
danger.
one for the team.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for us, though, guys. I mean, we're just, you know, us. We're just taking it easy for the rest of us. You know what I mean? What about you guys, though? I mean, you guys have to have like humongous stuff on the hook coming up. I mean,
All right.
I don't know what happened to Pat. He kind of crapped
I don't
out. I don't
know.
know if his internet's messing up or not. I got tons of interviews already scheduled
Yep.
for 2023. You know, I get a lot of shit on the show because I don't stick in the Bigfoot lane. I try to have, you know, I do every Friday show is all about Bigfoot always, but I put out a couple of bonus shows, usually a week, and some of them get into the interesting other things because I've had experiences with UFOs and ghosts and other things. So I'm interested in that. So I want to give people that platform. So I've got some of that stuff coming up, and we've got some pretty big names coming up. I'm working on getting Joe Rogan on the show, and I'm also working on getting Rob Lowe on the show. I'm dedicated to making those things happen.
Nice.
You know, they might tell me to go screw myself, but you know, if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So I'm not scared.
It
to
doesn't
ask.
hurt to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to work on doing that. And we're just going to continue the momentum that we've had over the last 6 months or so with the show. It's growing every single day, and people are coming forward leaps and bounds with their encounters. And I think that's really the most exciting thing for me is, you know, every time I get a new interview scheduled with somebody who isn't somebody, who's just Joe Blow, who's had an encounter and wants to share it on the show, that's really what it's all about for me. And we've got tons of those coming up. I'm really excited about what's going to happen in 2023, and just partnering with other people, partnering with other shows. You know, that's what it's really all about is, you know, in addition to moving the Bigfoot ball down the field, is continuing to make friendships with new people and help other people. I help a ton of people with their podcast behind the scenes. You know, I try to do as much as I possibly can to help other people that are trying to do that. And as much as I can help other people with my platform, I'm going to continue to do that as well. So that's pretty much it for me.
Well, cool, man. I will say I'm not very hopeful. I'm going to make a bunch of predictions privately, like time-stamped. You know, I'm going to do these like time-stamped, you know, like predictions behind the scenes, and you know, and see if my predictions were right for 2023. It's not like, because they're kind of big ones, so I don't want to don't want to just publicly premeditate. You know, I'll just do it privately behind the scenes, and if they come true, bam, there was locked in, time-stamped. You know, so that's how I'm going to do my predictions. I'm not very hopeful. I should be more optimistic, but I'm just not. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. Real quick, everybody, like Jeff's about to go live at 9 on Pine Island with a 2023 all around prediction, like not even Bigfoot related, just everything world view. So go check that out if you want. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you guys. You know, Tyler.
Thanks for having us.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was good just to
fun.
have a beer with you guys and try to learn something. You know what I mean? Appreciate even being included.
Hey, that's what I do here, basically. So
Cheers
yeah,
to you, Pat.
and of course, yeah, Brian, thanks for coming on, man. We've been talking about being on each other's shows. I was glad to get you on tonight, man, and your perspective. Great stuff, man. Lots more to talk about. So if you guys want to hang out a minute, cool. If not, cool. I get it. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw out the outro, and yeah, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Nice meeting everybody out there.
Later, guys.
All
And
right,
gals.
man. See you guys.